144 pounds. That is the number most people remember. It sounds ridiculous. A farm, a year of work, just 144 pounds in profit. On the surface, it looks like failure. But that number hides the real story. Because the same farm that once made 144 pounds has become the base of a property and business empire, now estimated at well over 30 million pounds. Not just land. A farm shop, a pub, a brewery, a television brand. A story so strange it almost sounds invented. But it is not invented. It happened because Jeremy Clarkson bought 1,000 acres in the Cotswolds to shoot pheasants. That is where this begins. And that is why the whole thing is so interesting. Because this was never really a story about farming. It was about timing, scarcity, stubbornness, and what happens when a piece of countryside becomes more valuable as a story than as a crop-producing asset. Back in 2008, the financial world was in chaos. Banks were collapsing. Lehman Brothers had fallen. If you had serious money at that moment, you were looking for something real, something the market could not erase overnight. Clarkson bought his land in that exact environment. Reports vary, but the figure is usually placed between 4.45 million and 6 million pounds. At the time, it was just land. A large, beautiful one, but no TV show, no retail brand, no national obsession. Because buying land is not the same as creating value from it. A lot of people can own something. Very few can turn it into an ecosystem. For years, Clarkson barely touched it. The farm was run by tenant farmer Howard Pauling. Crops went in, crops came out, while Clarkson focused on the rest of his life. Meanwhile, the land was quietly appreciating. Then Howard retired, and Clarkson was standing on 1,000 acres with no obvious next move. He could have handed it to another tenant, kept it passive, done the minimum. Instead, he decided to have a go himself. That decision changed the entire trajectory. Small in the moment, enormous in hindsight. The first year exposed the reality of farming. The accountant delivered the number. Profit for the year, 144 pounds. Barely a rounding error. Farming is not just about owning land. It's weather, timing, and failure after failure, with maybe a small reward at the end. Clarkson was learning that the hard way. But he did not walk away. A rational investor, watching land prices rise, might have sold for a clean return. He leaned in instead. He opened a farm shop, then built a business around the place. Then came the television show. And once the cameras arrived, the farm stopped being just a farm and became a brand. That is where the value started multiplying because in the modern economy, a story can be worth more than the thing itself. The land was the foundation. The show was the amplifier. The shop was the proof people would come. Public attention was the fuel. Then the conflict began. West Oxfordshire District Council pushed back hard. The shop was challenged. The restaurant blocked. The car park refused. At first glance, that looked like damage, but the resistance made the whole thing more famous. The council tried to control development and accidentally created drama. Drama is marketing, especially for an underdog story. The same restrictions that annoyed Clarkson also reinforced the land's value, because protected countryside is scarce, and you cannot manufacture another patch of land with the same appeal and public recognition. Clarkson was not just farming. He was building a brand inside one of the most desirable landscapes in Britain. A farm by itself is one thing. A farm millions of people know by name is something else entirely. The shop, the pub, and then Hawkstone beer all became part of that identity. Clarkson had barley the market wouldn't value properly, so he added the value himself, turned agricultural frustration into a consumer product. By 2025, Hawkstone sales were reportedly around 21.3 million pounds. A serious business, born from the story the farm made possible. People don't only buy beer, roast dinners, or farm shop produce. They buy the meaning wrapped around those things, the sense that it's connected to something real and imperfect rather than a formula. Diddley Squat never felt like a polished corporate project. It felt messy, stubborn, human. In a market full of clean branding and fake sincerity, that has real power. Then politics entered. In October 2024, the UK government announced changes to agricultural property relief, a major issue for large farms and family estates, where inheritance tax pressure can be brutal without liquid cash on hand. Clarkson joined farmers in protest, and the story became national news again. Reactions split. Some saw hypocrisy, Some saw a man standing up for farming. Some saw a media personality using the moment. Maybe all three were true. The same system that tried to limit him made him more visible. The same controversy that created political risk also created content. And content keeps attention flowing. Attention keeps brands alive, and brands eventually make land feel more valuable than land should ever feel. That chain is the real story. Not Clarkson bought a farm. Not even Clarkson made a profit. The real story is that he turned one asset into multiple overlapping assets. Land, media, retail, hospitality, consumer goods, public identity. Each layer supports the others and makes the whole thing harder to copy. You can buy land, open a shop, launch a product, but you cannot easily buy public affection, a national conversation, or the kind of cultural momentum that makes millions of people care whether a pub car park gets approved. That has to be built slowly, or stumbled into. So was it genius or luck? Probably both. Luck gave him the entry point. Timing gave him the opportunity. But stubbornness turned the opportunity into an empire. The real skill was not seeing the future.